Welcome to Midway Minute, everybody. I'm Scott Koral. He is Kevin Kaduk, and it's Wild Card Weekend. The Bears take on the Saints at the New Orleans Superdome in front of Nickelodeon. So, Kevin, your thoughts on SpongeBob and how he's going to factor into this game?
You know, I was never a SpongeBob guy. I think I'm a little too old. I don't know. I'm more like you can't do that on television. And if you want to add some virtual slime in post-production, feel free to.
Yeah, I just don't like. There's a part of me that just wants to watch that for I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes just to see how either good or bad it's going to be. But to the game, obviously the Bears and Saints met in Week 8. That was November 1st. The Bears lost 26-23. There were a lot of positives in that game despite losing. Yeah. But it was still Nick Foles, the quarterback, and not Mitch Trubisky. What do you think is going to be different?
I don't know. Obviously, this one's down in New Orleans. I think the Bears should be grateful that it's not a full Superdome, because I think that would be a recipe for disaster. And I think the Bears can go down there, and I think they can keep it close. But I don't feel a lot of hope for this game. It's just hard to think. At the same time, these Bears have had like 9 lives. So part of me thinks, like, is there any way they can scrape things out? And it's going to take a lot of things to go right. I think Drew Brees is going to have to turn the ball over. Or obviously, the Saints offense, you're probably going to have to get something out of your special teams. And both units have to show up and play. I don't think that this is a game that the offense can win by itself. And this definitely isn't a game that the defense can win by itself. So unless all 3 phases show up, I don't hold a lot of hope for the Bears.
The defense really has to show up, because in the second half, they've been pretty dismal. They were great on third down before, at least in the first 8 weeks of the season. And since then, they've averaged giving up over 45% on third downs. Yeah. You can't do that. And a lot of people are saying that's one of the reasons why Chuck Pagano is on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Who is your player to watch on the defensive end?
Well, I think we're all looking at Roquan Smith right now, because all week long, he has not practiced. But we're taping this right after the injury report came out on Friday, and he's still questionable. So I think he's probably going to try to make a go of it. And obviously, everything kind of runs through that defense. Obviously, everything kind of runs through Smith on that defense, because he is a playmaker. But at the same time, can Eddie Jackson step up and make a play? He hasn't in recent weeks. Can Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn get to Drew Brees? They haven't made a habit of doing that. So we're going to have to make plays. I think I wrote a Midway Minute the day after the Packers. It's like that game was pretty close, and the Bears looked good for long stretches of time. They held the ball. But they just couldn't make the plays. Can someone step up and make a play for once?
Part of that's going to be pressure. And against the Saints in Week 8, they got pressure about 4% less than they should have. I believe it was 18.3 is what was expected. They pressured the Saints 14.3% of the time. And Khalil Mack was the only one to get a sack. So can Khalil Mack get a sack this time? Can Akeem Hicks and Bilal Nichols? I mean, and that's the thing, is maybe, one of the things that I spoke with the Athletics' Kat Terrell about was about getting pressure against the Saints. And she said the best way to do it is up the middle. And if that's the case, that means Akeem Hicks and that means Bilal Nichols have to do something. And they've been capable. They've shown that they're capable of doing it. But it also means Robert Quinn on the other side of Mack, you got to come through. Yeah. And he, for 2 sacks and 3 forced fumbles on the year, not enough, and not enough pressures.
Yeah. I think that scares me about this game, Scott, is I think we talked about this before the regular season game. When you go into a game with a better coach, Sean Payton over Matt Nagy, the better quarterback, Drew Brees over Mitch Trubisky, and a lot of stars, starting with, Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas, that's just a recipe for success. And for the Bears to really pull stuff off, they've got to outplay their level. And for most of the season, they haven't. You actually wrote in the pregame notes that the Bears have the toughest strength of schedule of any playoff team. But against the great teams that they played, they were 1-6. So, with their lone win coming against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, can the Bears go out and did what they, the Tampa Bay has a great defense. The Bears were able to move the ball and really find a way to grind out a 1-point victory in that game. Can that happen? I don't know.
One of our partners, Brendan Shagru of Bears Wire, wrote about his 4 bold predictions. And his 4th one was Nick Foles is going to take over for Mitch Trubisky sometime in this game.
That's interesting.
And I was like, whoa, holy cow. But I think when you're coaching for your playoff life and you're playing for your playoff life, you're going to do whatever it takes. And don't forget, Nick Foles I think he threw for 272 yards, 2 TDs, did have a pick in that game. At some point, you may have to throw the ball downfield. And Foles is really the only one who can do that. Mitch Trubisky hasn't been able to show that he can push the ball past 10 yards from the line of scrimmage.
I mean, that would be a bold move, and bold moves is are going to be necessary to win this game, and then obviously if you do get past it to win in subsequent weeks. Now, hopefully, that means opening up the offense a little bit and letting Trubisky do things, and hopefully Bill Lazor is 100% calling the plays and Matt Nagy's not really getting his influence in there. So, I hope we don't see Foles, because I think that probably means that you're playing from way behind, and I don't think the Bears can play from behind and win.
Not against this Saints team. They're 5th against the pass, 4th against the run. And oddly enough, against the run, only 5 players in 2020 rushed for 75 yards against this Saints defense. One of those happened to be David Montgomery. And the Bears game was the only game where the Saints won when that happened. So this may come down to how the running backs do. David Montgomery on one side, Alvin Kamara on the other.
Yeah, a lot of it's going to come down to time of possession. Can you keep Drew Brees off the field? Can you keep the ball moving? Can you sustain drives? And then, in concert with that, can the defense get off the field when they do have to be out there? So I've tried cooking up a lot of scenarios where the Bears win, and I think that's kind of obviously what it's going to take. I just don't think it's going to happen. And let's just get to our predictions, Scott. I've got the Saints 27, Bears 21. I think the Bears cover, but don't walk away with a win.
Yeah, I don't have them covering. I wrote you right before this. I said Saints 34, Bears 19. I just don't see the Bears having enough horses. And it's not that David Montgomery isn't going to have a decent game. I think he can. I think there's going to be too many short passes, too many chunk plays. And if Trubisky makes one mistake, and he's good for at least one every game, and I'm trying to be as nice about this as I can. Right. He's good for one a game. And if that happens, the Saints are going to take advantage, and basically the floodgates are going to be loose. So it's going to be tough for the Bears to really take off and win this. Trubisky has to play the game of his life. Is he capable of doing that?
Yeah. So this is the 12th time that the Bears have been in the playoffs since 1985. Really hope this doesn't make it a dirty dozen of playoff exits before Super Bowl, but I guess we'll find out. At least we've extended the Bears season a week. At least there's another weekend of Bears football, and I'll cross my fingers. Obviously, we want the Bears to win and be back here talking about the divisional round. But you never know. So
there is one more thing we have to talk about, though.
Okay.
Maybe we should do this prediction wise. Javon Wims versus CJ Gardner-Johnson. Who wins part 2?
Probably CJ, man. He's a troll, and he won round 1. So, he's got those skills. We've seen him before with, Tariq Cohen last year. I'll go with CJ. Yeah,
I don't think, I think Javon Wims is going to play this very safe because he doesn't want to get cut this offseason with another fight. So, All right. That's it for us here on Midway Minute. Remember to subscribe to everything that you see here on YouTube and sign up for the newsletter at midwayminute.win. We will see all of you come Sunday.